Amongst those who have really helped us on this journey, helped to steer us, intervening at critical moments, have been the members of the clergy. And our next speaker, Reverend Dr. the Honorable Burchell Taylor, has been behind and in front of many, many important developments in Jamaica, not just in the field of religion, but in our social and political history and development. Dr. Taylor retired as pastor of the Bethel Baptist Church after 47 years of service to that church. He has been pastoring congregations of 3,000 and more. He has served as Baptist chaplain for the University of the West Indies, member of the Baptist World Alliance Commission on Ethics and Communication. He has been awarded, and eminently deservedly so, awarded the Order of Jamaica in 2015 for distinguished service in the field of religion, locally and internationally. Please welcome Reverend Dr. the Honorable Burchell Taylor.
The Most Honorable P.J. Patterson, and I hope, sir, that I do not embarrass you by also referring to you as my former teacher. in very early days, when you looked like one of the students, you taught at Cornell College, and I was very much there, and you did teach me. So, you know, I am very proud to declare that, and I hope I don't embarrass you by saying that. Sir Hilary Beckles, Honorable Bruce Golding, and author of the book, Professor, the Most Honorable Errol Miller, Mrs. Miller, distinguished ladies and gentlemen who are part of this gathering, and others who are elsewhere sharing in this coming together. I would like to offer heartiest congratulations to Professor Miller on the publication of his work, 2 volumes. And I would also like to express sincerest thanks for the invitation both he and his publishers extended to me to be part of this now evening function and to be playing this particular role. I would just like to say that it has been my privilege and honor to have been the pastor of Professor Miller for well over 4 decades, and to be and have been a friend and a conversation partner all over that period, and then down to the present, and hopefully for some time yet to come. As I shared with Dr. Miller over the years, and as a conversation partner, many of the matters and issues that have emerged in the publications he shared with me And I must confess that I am indeed greatly indebted to Professor Miller for enlightenment, for knowledge on many, many issues that I had no knowledge of, and for which I am the better off this very day. Some of the things that we discussed, along with many others, have been part of the publications that are being launched this afternoon. And as I think back, I must say it is most heartening that these things and so many other of things are now being given public expression. Well needed, well deserved public expression. And I'm very, very confident that everyone who avails herself or himself of the contents of the publications, and I hope a vast number of persons will do that, stand to benefit immensely. Not only so, but I do believe that the publications will make a definite impact on our public discourse and our public conversations. And in the end, these publications, I do believe, will stand to be a useful resource for present researchers as well as researchers of the future generations to come. One of the things that struck me as I read Professor Miller's work is the seminal contribution that he will make and has made to our understanding, our knowledge of our electoral history, and also of other matters of our own journey as a nation in terms of national development. Seminal thoughts. And to the extent that I believe that as we read these works, one of the things that will emerge is that for sure our true self-understanding will be strengthened and our confidence in ourselves will be reinforced. Because as we read what is said about the electoral history, surely we would be convinced about our own capacity to initiate, to establish, and to sustain systems and structures that work for the common good, which ought to be the goal of our national aspirations. Surely, as we read, we should be impressed by our capacity to do so. and mention had already been made of this, that what we have ended up doing stands as a model and is immensely exemplary. And I do believe that there are those around who stand to learn from what we have achieved, even those who think that there is nothing they could learn from the likes of us. They would stand to learn something, seminal thinking of a profound nature. Another thing that really struck me as I read the book, it is that Professor Miller has brought rigorous intellectual application to what he has put forward to us. And this is matched in a most interesting way by what I call moral courage and even passion. I say this because with sound reasoning, with effective critical analysis, and with compelling arguments, in the works, Professor Miller does not hesitate to disagree with opinions that have long been considered standard, but which he does not now think ought to be considered as such. And even more so, he has also questioned ideas, sayings that we have accepted as conventional wisdom about ourselves. But in the works, Professor Miller has questioned such things we regard as conventional wisdom. And what is most striking about this is that after you have read what he said about these standard opinions and the conventional wisdom about ourselves, and you do not agree with him, still, what he accomplished was to force you to give greater thought, to reflect more profoundly upon things that we simply took for granted that were true. And we end up with greater justification for accepting them rather than just taking them as truisms that need not be questioned. That, to me, is a tremendous contribution. I want to make one final observation, is that Professor Miller, in his work, is most unapologetic about the fact that he is a man of faith. And more than that he embraces the conviction that faith commitment and faith institutions can make a tremendous contribution to wholesome national development. This he based upon attested historical precedents, as well as on his perceived sense of the inherent potential of ethical, moral values that are rooted in his faith commitment and in the commitment of the institutions. I say that as we read it, we will recognize that Professor Miller does not think about this kind of contribution on the basis of some narrow, partisan, religious, ideological stance. You will find nothing of the sort in the book. Neither will you find any kind of preoccupation with culture wars of a national or civil religion. What we find as we read the works where he talks about national development is that he seizes upon such moral virtues and such moral values that give priority to the equality of human beings, that give priority to the immeasurable value and the inviolable dignity of all human beings created in the image of God. And the role of these moral values to shape and undergird the integrity of the social order and to uphold the integrity of the natural environment. He's unapologetic about the contribution that faith commitment and faith institutions can make. I want to commend the works of Professor Miller as works that all of us should try to get hold of and to seek to immerse ourselves in them and draw upon them. They will teach us how to be honest with ourselves, how to be honest about ourselves, and yet not to be immobilized by self-doubt, but to be able to draw upon our human potential and the possibilities that lie within us to become a people truly great in terms of being people committed to the common good. This is a great piece of work, and it stands to become a lasting part of our intellectual legacy. Thank you, Dr. Miller, and may God bless you.